and gentlemen, welcome to the Real Estate World Podcast. We're live today. Things are working. Yesterday we had technical difficulties. I don't know what was going on other than I think the shelter at home overload happened finally. People had finally brought down Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg, I'm sorry. It finally happened. We thought our brother would do it about 10 years ago. He did not.
Eventually, a Picard was going to do it.
Yeah, eventually one of the Picards was going to do something bad to Facebook. So, you know, we have a really special guest today. It's an individual that I worked with in a former life. Yes, I do believe in reincarnation. When I say former life, I meant that literally. It was a former life, but no, a really great guy. We're going to bring him in right away. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the real estate market, but also we want to every day as we do the Corona Chronicles, we want to talk to real people and hear the real stories about what's really going on the ground. And the great thing is that we have guests that are literally all over the country and all over the world on this podcast. And you know, we're going to look at this 6 months from now, hopefully fondly, and say, gosh, was that a crazy time? And I'm glad we're through it. I'm glad everything's back to normal. Probably will not be back to normal, but we hope it's a little more resembling normal. It'll be the new normal and stuff. So today is April 1st. I want to say that because in podcasting, in the podcast world, the world of creating content, so much emphasis is put on creating evergreen content. And for those of you that don't know what evergreen content is, it's, you know, we're going to talk about interest rates, but not specific interest rates. So that way this piece of content can be used, 5 years from now. So we're gonna talk about how do you improve your credit score, and speak about it in a little more general terms than you would if you were speaking specifically as of April 1st, 2020, this is what rates are doing today. And here's why. So anyway, our next guest, or today's guest, is a real estate trainer, coach, and consultant with Leaders Edge. He started as an agent, then moved on to a role as a trainer, manager, and senior executive leader of the largest residential real estate brokerage in North America. After that, he served as president of one of the top real estate franchises in the United States. And we met actually when he was an agent. I met Robert in his formative years. In his work today, he is obsessed with helping real estate professionals set, achieve, and exceed their goals through his coaching and training business. You can find him and listen to his weekly podcast at howtheywon.com. It is my pleasure to have Robert Burns with us today, and I need to unmute him. Let's see. Hey, Bob,
Hey.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound really good. You have like a really good microphone.
Hey, thanks, man. Yeah, it's what is it? A Shure SM7B.
Yeah, in fact, I'm looking at the Shures. I've got one of these ATR 2100s. These are like, they double as boomerangs. And also if you need to like those little blackjack things that you hit someone in the back of the head and knock them out with, these also work.
Don't your kids use them to club each other too?
Well, they do. That is another story.
This is what my kids use to club each other. We keep clubbing mics, and then we keep nice mics separate in my house.
Well, what do you use on the seals?
Well, the baby seals can club themselves in these times. We're in a shelter in place. If you're not aware, those seals got to figure it out on their own.
Yeah. The seals are getting a chance to breathe finally, but yeah, I don't know. There's an ongoing drama in my house. I have my home office is right off the kitchen. The absolute worst place to have an office when you've got twin 6-year-old boys who are just absolutely committed to destroying everything in that office. They just broke like a new printer, scanner, copier, $600. Which it's amazing the equipment $600 buys in today's
right.
technological realm. I mean, this printer was, it was honestly, it was like a rainbow, like formed over. It was so awesome. It could do, it could do way more than I thought a $600 printer ever could. But now it doesn't do anything because they ripped the control panel off. And the folks, the wonderful folks from Loeffler came out and they're like, yeah, sorry, buddy, we can't help you. Here's a catalog. Why don't you pick something out? So anyway, Bob, or do you go by Robert now?
You can go call me Bob. That's cool.
Okay, because I knew you as Bob back in the day.
Same guy, way back in the day, right?
Yeah,
way back in the day.
yeah. You were nowhere near as awesome as no, you were as awesome. You were.
You gotta wait till I swallowed, man.
No, but how are you doing? Like sheltering in place, and where is home right now?
Yeah, so we're in Des Moines, Iowa right now. We moved here about 4.5 years ago from New Jersey. I used to work with Realogy. Then we moved here to so I could work with a local real estate company in Des Moines. And I got to tell you, we are far. You're still in Minnesota, right, Scott?
I am still flyover country, right here in the bunker in Minnetonka.
So here in the deep south, central Iowa. We're not as far along in this as you all are. We've been kind of slow to react. So we're not in a shelter in place or quarantine order. There's some recommendations that the governor's put in place, but for all intents and purposes, we're shut down just like everybody else.
Well, haven't you kind of like made a decision to shelter in place or social distance just by moving to Iowa? Is that like kind of the I mean, I love Iowa. Don't get me wrong. I have I was best man and my really good friends. He was on Saturday. He lives in Des Moines or
cool.
Altoona, I believe. So yeah. So no, it's a great place. In fact, I have only spent one night in jail in my life.
I was gonna say there's got to be. I've heard this story, the Iowa wedding. Maybe that's for another episode.
You've heard of the Red Wedding on Game of Thrones. Well, this was its Iowan equivalent. Okay, so that's a story for another day, I believe. We'll tell it. But
yeah, I want to hear the story at some point. We'll have to have an episode too. But yeah, it is kind of social distancing. It was a big change moving from New York, New Jersey, greater New York metropolitan area back to the Midwest. It was funny growing up in Minneapolis. All I wanted to do was get out of Minneapolis and get to a bigger place.
Right.
And, 10 years later, I'm back to like a really, really small place. So it's been really cool for the kids. I've got 10 and 12-year-old boys. And I tell you, living here, except lately, has been like Norman Rockwell. We turn them loose on a Saturday morning and we don't see them again until, the street lights come on at dinner, like how we grew up. And that's been really, really cool.
It is funny though, like you mentioned that, like you wanted to get away, because I grew up on a dairy farm, central Minnesota, and I thought, okay, I got to get out of here, and then I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna go there, and it's as you get older, you're kind of like I keep looking for what I want, and it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, where everything you were looking for is right in your backyard, and you feel kind of like sheepish when you come to that realization. But I guess maybe that's the process, right? You have to sample the grass.
It's about the journey, as they say. And
right.
Growing up, they tell you that the adults tell you that, or whoever tell you that. And you're like, yeah. Okay, boomer. And then it turns out that it really totally is about the journey. It's crazy how we come to learn the things that as we get older, we're open, I guess.
Yeah, it really is fascinating. Once you open your mind up and actually start, and have that actual actualization. Oh my gosh. Let's get that out of the system here. So how did you what brought you? Okay. So you went to New Jersey. That was to, you're going to test my memory, because I remember when you left.
Right. Yep. It was a series of career moves. So I started as a real estate agent in the Twin Cities in Minneapolis, became a trainer, did that for a while. The parent company of the company I was with in Minneapolis needed someone to run their whole training organization in New York, and Long Island and Queens, New York. So we moved out there. At that point, it was just my wife and I and our 2 dogs. Did that. That was in 2006. We made the move. And then, of course, 12 months later, we're in the Great Recession, and 1,500 miles from home. So that was a trial by fire. After I ran the training department there for a while, then flipped over to the operations side. They gave me a branch office that they were going to close, essentially, that was failing. They're like, hey, what can you do with this? So I managed very quickly to, start retaining the agents that were leaving, recruiting the agents that had left to come back. And that got more attention. And then more and more agents started joining, and the office turned around. It was profitable. And then they said, hey, Bob, you want to try that again? This is an even harder one. So they put me in another one. Did the same thing, and same recipe, recruit, retain, train the agents, make a good culture, create a good environment, place where agents want to be. And then it's kind of like an upward, a virtuous cycle, as they call it. After doing that twice, they put me in charge of all the offices, the 23 offices from Queens out to the Hamptons. And that was amazing. So I left the training side and was in the operation side. In the meantime, my wife, when we moved to New York, had a job on Wall Street that she left. She was standing on a subway platform like July 1st or 2nd, 8 months pregnant. And I remember her getting home from work that night. I think it was like a Thursday or a Wednesday. And she's like, do I have to go back tomorrow? 110 degrees, 8 months pregnant in a smelly, dirty, hot subway. And I'm like, no, stay home. So that was cool. But she was totally isolated from her network. She was at home by herself. I'm a workaholic, so I was at work all the time. Mm-hmm. All of her friends were in the city, and she was at home with my first son and then my second son all by herself. And finally she's like, what is it, Bob? Is it marriage or career? Which one are you going to pick? Can't be both. So I said marriage. And the company was nice enough to find a role for me in their corporate headquarters in New Jersey, which changed a lot. I was still a workaholic, but it enabled us to make some social connections, stuff like that. So that was the first part of the story in 2006. And then in 2015, this headhunter, recruiter, they don't like to be called headhunter.
Yeah. I like headhunter.
This recruiter called me. He'd been calling me for years, and I kept turning him down. And he put this opportunity to run a company in Des Moines, Iowa in front of me. And I'm like, well, kids are getting older. They see their grandparents like twice a year. Maybe we should move within driving distance. So in 15, we did that. Moved back to the Midwest. It was great. Company totally turned it around. And last January of 2019, that kind of came to an end. And I called a friend of mine that I'd known forever. His name is Chris Leader, and said, hey, Chris, you ever thought about having a second trainer? Anybody that, you want to come into the company? He's like, never thought of it, but let's do it, man. And that was history. So I'm about a year and a quarter into this whole trainer, coach, consultant thing. Feels weird to be a 1099 again, especially during pandemic times. That paycheck every 2 weeks would be nice right now, but I'm in the same spot everybody else is. We're trying to figure this out.
Yeah. I mean, it's, if you would have 3 months ago said we'd be in this situation, I think most people would have laughed in your face, said you're crazy.
Right.
There's no way that the world, the greatest economy of all time is going to, have the gravel thrown in the gearbox and just gum this thing up and see hundreds of thousands of people laid off daily. This is, and there's a lot of people. Well, let me back up before we go down that rabbit hole. But you mentioned a couple of things, the fork in the road where your wife said, you have to decide, do you want to, be married or have a, or be married to your career, basically.
Right. Well put.
And so many entrepreneurs struggle with that because they have that fire, that drive, and that desire to, take a certain level of productivity and raise it, right, and elevate it. That's what entrepreneurs do, right? There's a certain amount of potential in there, and the goal through entrepreneurship is to try to increase it, and a lot of that is it's the process of creation that is just so, it's so alluring and so seducing to you that, and you never are done, right?
Right. Right. Like, there's always more. There's always something else. There's always, and that you're right. It's almost addictive, that feeling of starting with this idea, and it's only yours and only you know about it. And then slowly you kind of develop it, and a couple more people find out, and a couple more people find out. And suddenly the idea stops being an idea and starts turning into something real. And before you know it, it's this huge thing that's actually impacting other people. And then it grows again. And then once it's out, I've coined a term in my life. I don't know if it's actually a psychological term or not, but I call it post-achievement disorder. Because at least for me, starting with those little ideas and then turning them into reality and making it something big that works. Like once it's out there, this thing that was my life for so long is gone. And I need, like I'm depressed. I need to find the next thing. There's always the next thing. That post achievement disorder is
Yeah.
definitely an issue for me.
That anticipation of seeing this thing come to fruition it's intoxicating. It really is. It's a different kind of it almost becomes sedation because you are so into this thing, and then there's this void that's left when it's gone, and then how do you fill it? And a lot of people struggle with that, and it's really difficult because everyone says, oh, I want a work-life balance, but I mean, does a true work-life balance ever exist, right? Like, because I believe that you go through phases in life where you're never 50-50, right? Or whatever that magic formula is, but there is some ebb and flow, and but how do you over time balance it out, right?
Totally. And you've got to have a little bit of almost like a philosophical outlook on the whole thing. Lately I've been studying, this gets a little nerdy, so cut me off if it's a little too
Bring
deep.
it on.
I've been studying Stoicism. So
old,
Greek and Roman philosophy of Stoicism.
Ryan Halliday, Daily Stoic.
Oh, there you go. Cool. Perfect. And it really, really applies to where we're at right now, because really the root of Stoicism is control what you can and make an impact on what you can, and recognize what you can't impact or what you can't control. So control what you can, let go of the rest, and figure out how to do the most with what you can do. And I think that's been a real key for me and for my coaching clients during this pandemic is, okay, let's look at all of the things going on right now in your world, and let's mark the ones where you could actually do something about it, and let's forget about the rest of them. Those are going to happen with or without you. Let's focus on the stuff that you can do something about right now. And that's been really, really important.
Yeah. Do you read the Daily Stoic? Have you? There you go, Jeremy. There you go. Wait, I'm on my second turn. We actually, my wife.
This is one of 8 copies that we have in the office.
Nice.
We have one in our bathroom vanity. My wife and I we're on our second turn through the Daily Stoic right now, and there was a passage. I don't know, like I don't know if you've read Ryan Holiday's books, but he's got one, The Obstacle's the Way, and apparently something that like professional football teams like Bill Belichick and who's the guy in Seattle, Pete Carroll, they actually buy it for their players, but there's a phrase in one of the books that Ryan wrote, and it's basically everyone. He says, people think of serenity as this monk, in the idyllic mountainside where the waterfall or the streams going, and then the butterflies are floating around, and they're like, well, that's serenity. That's what serenity needs to be. But he's like, the true Stoic, the person who really is in control of themselves can have that same pose in the middle of a busy street, in the corner of 5th and Broadway or something. I don't know if that's an intersection in New York, but wherever, think of a busy street, and that's, if you can have, and I think that's what you're talking about right now. Like, there is chaos around us. Like, even when things are going great, we are surrounded by chaos, and to be that, to have that ability to look at the facts and not and minimize the amount of filter we put in with our emotions, right? Facts don't care about our emotions. Circumstances don't care about, how we feel. They just are. And we're the ones who apply, the meaning to a circumstance. Like right now, for what's going on is very bizarre, right? And you can really allow yourself to get overwhelmed by the moment, because people are dying. Like they're talking, by the time this runs its course, hundreds of thousands of people, and millions worldwide, right? Like, and does the media take those numbers and run with them? Yes, of course, right? Because their job is to get clicks and eyeballs. But if you focus on that, you can drive yourself crazy. Like, you can be really depressed.
The hole is very deep, and in fact, you will never find the bottom if you continue to chase things that you can't control and try to control them. It is all consuming. It will take everything from you and then keep taking some more. So I've been reading Marcus Aurelius meditations, this really old stuff, And this is a guy, Roman emperor, and the empire, he's got, barbarians attacking him everywhere, and the Senate is out to get him. And the whole thing is, I mean, if that guy can simplify his life down to, okay, here's the 3 things that I can do today, then this should be easy for me, right? And as a real estate professional, all of this is swirling around. I can't show homes right now, and offers are falling apart. Maybe the mortgages are not able to be underwritten, or the recording office is closed, and all of these things are out there and they're swirling. And no matter how hard you lean into them, you're not going to change them. The trick is to find out in those little moments what you can control. Be open, be creative, be positive, and don't go chasing around things and fighting against things that you'll never win. And what we're finding, at least in the agents that I'm working with, is they are either finding a way to make things happen, or they're making a way to make things happen. People are still buying houses. People are still selling houses. There's less of them, I grant you that, but we're figuring out a way to help people achieve their goals. The real thing that you can control right now is your relationship. So this whole social distancing thing, I'm encouraging people not to get the wrong idea. The key word is not distancing. The key word is social. You can still use this opportunity to nurture and build on the social relationships that you have. So one of my coaching clients what she's doing is she's totally flipping her database upside down. So she was taught, you've got your A+ clients, the ones that refer business to you over and over again, and they'll always give your name. And then you got your A clients who will use you when they transact, and your B clients and your C clients, et cetera. So you spend most of your time focused on the A+, a little less time on the Bs, a little less time on the Cs, and then everybody else when you get to them. What she's done is she's flipped it upside down. And the people that she was not focused on at all, because they're not like these repeat referral type people, right now she's got nothing to lose. She's got time, they've got time, and she's been reaching out, making phone calls, sending text messages, sending personal Facebook messages, whatever. She's connecting with these people who have historically in her database been lower in the referral sense to work with her, and she's uncovered all kinds of opportunities for whenever the sun rises on a post COVID-19 real estate market. There's all kinds of gold she found in those supposedly lower value contacts in her database, because she found, hey, here's something I can control. I can control the people I talk to, and I can keep the social and social distancing. And that's what she does for her job now. She can't go out and show houses. She's on the phone with people in her database, and it's transforming her business for the day the sun rises on a post COVID-19 world. It's exciting.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's great. That's awesome, because, no matter what you do, and if it's real estate, awesome. Right. This is that, first we're real estate guys, but people are looking to be led right now. They're looking for stability. They're looking for somebody who can make sense of what's going on. If you look at the CARES Act that just came out, well, the problem with the CARES Act is it's a $2.2 trillion bill, and if you don't know like how many zeros that is a very big number. 2.2 doesn't sound very big, but when you think about how much money that is, it's astronomical. But the problem with the bill is that it needs to be unpackaged, right? I think it's 800 and some pages. Right. So for the layperson, you're like, well, how does that even apply to me? So, if you're a real estate agent and you've got, your clients, don't play accountant, don't play financial advisor, but partner with a good accountant. You'll be that voice of reason and that information source, even if it's just a referral. Like I have dozens of people, and I'm not exaggerating, who have come to me, small business owners who have come to me and said, look, you seem like you know what you're talking about. I'm like, well, it's a good act. But with this, because I have made it my mission to understand how people can get help right now. Like whether it be, a person who got laid off, someone who's, stay-at-home parent, which that's a tough job, by the way. I do not have the temperament nor the ability, the patience to do that job. And I have so much respect for, my wife right now, who's home, homeschooling the kids with the, the help of the school, 2 6-year-olds, but I couldn't do it. Like I just absolutely couldn't do this. I have so much respect for teachers and people who stay home with their children, but the goal here is to unpackage some of the stuff and say, when someone comes to me and says, hey, here's my situation, I can say, okay, I understand where you're coming from. Here's a few options that you should look at, and here's a couple people you should talk to. Because what does that have to do with real estate? Well, nothing directly, but you know what? The sooner the economy gets moving, the sooner people can get back to work, the sooner, everyone's going to be happier. Number one, people are going to have some money in their pocket. Number two, number three, if they have money, they go out and spend it. And, we can support all the, the restaurants that, some of which may not reopen. So my, part of doing this, reaching out too, is to have a daily, soapbox, I guess, for lack of a better word, but it's our podcast, but to be able to get the message out to people and say, look, if you're scared, I get you. I'm a little scared too. If you're confused, I get you. If you're a little frustrated, you're not alone in this. So
I think that's huge. And so I've been doing a daily, an almost daily Facebook live thing where I'm talking about what I'm thinking and what I'm sharing with people. And I've tried to be really, really transparent on that whole thing. So for me, the biggest thing that we implemented in my family, like day one of this, was a super detailed daily time blocked schedule. And I wake up at the same time every day. I get dressed, take a shower, get dressed, do the whole routine, Miracle Morning. I don't know if you've read that book. That's a great book.
Hal Elrond.
Yeah. Hal Elrod. Yep. And so you do the Miracle Morning, and then my kids are up, they have breakfast, and we start our homeschool. And for the most part, my wife is delivering that, but I'll step in and teach a class here and there. I'm working on my business. I'm coaching. I'm talking to people. I'm doing my videos. But I'm going to be totally transparent with your listeners too, Scott. I've been on this. We've been on this, and we've been doing great for the last two weeks, however long it's gone on. Yesterday was a really bad day for me on that schedule. And I think this is really, really important. Fell off the schedule completely. Woke up not feeling it. And it was, I didn't do anything that I wanted to do. I did one thing, and that was I was able to get through to my mortgage company after 5 hours and get a forbearance. So 5 hours on hold with the mortgage company.
5 hours?
5 hours with the headset on, walking around my house, kind of trying to help out. The lady I talked to said 8,000 calls a day is what they're fielding at my mortgage company.
5 hours. Tell me never to get in a staring contest with you. Holy cow.
But here's the thing. I've got the reserves to pay the mortgage. It's not a financial issue at all for me. I'm trying to take the same advice I'm giving to my coaching clients. And that is, right now, if you're a small business, if you're a real estate agent or a real estate company owner, cash flow is your number one priority. You won't be able to even field a team. You won't even be on the field if you can't bridge the gap in this cash flow situation. So you might take, you have to sacrifice your balance sheet. You might have to sacrifice your savings. You might have to sacrifice your debt, but you've got to create cash flow to bridge this gap for yourself. So I did that at least yesterday while I was feeling bad about my lack of conformity to my schedule. And the cool thing that happened, Scott, I kind of took a left turn there. Hopefully we can.
That's fine.
The cool thing that
it's your dime.
is I woke up today totally ready to get back on track. I kind of allowed myself to have a bad day yesterday. And today when I woke up, I didn't have to start from zero. I only kind of fell back one little click, and we're right back on the routine. We're right back feeling good. We're feeling positive. And what I think it is, have you ever done endurance sports? Have you ever run or biked or done anything like that, Scott?
4 miles this morning.
4 miles this
4
morning.
miles last night. Yeah.
So as you can see by looking at me, I'm kind of like off the wagon on that whole exercise thing. But for several years of my life, I was a triathlete. And triathlon, for those that aren't familiar, is swimming, biking, and running all in the same day at various distances. I'm a pretty good runner. I'm a really good cyclist. I am a terrible swimmer. I'm not a good swimmer at all. I can get back and forth across the pool.
Same.
That's about it. But you got to swim a 2-mile swim. And for me, getting through the swims was only about getting from where I am to the next buoy. And I would, in my head, I'd be like, okay, when I get to that buoy, I'm going to tread water for a sec. I'll flip over on my back. I'll take a rest. But what happened every single time is I would get to that buoy, and then the next buoy would just be off in the distance. Like, I'm not going to stop here. I'm going to go to that next one. And that's where I'll rest. And that's how I got through, a 2-mile swim as a person who can barely float. I think having a time block structured schedule works the same way. You could be having a bad hour or even a bad day, but all we're trying to do is to get through the current block so we can start the next block. If you zoom out too far during this whole thing, it can get pretty disheartening pretty fast. So I recommend that you kind of close your world down. That's good mic technique, isn't it? You shrink your world down and you just try to get to the next landmark for yourself. Set a bunch of little tiny incremental goals and stay focused on just getting to the next one. You don't have to get through this whole thing. You don't have to focus on the long run. You just got to get to the next incremental mark. And I think that is so, so important. It has been for me, and maybe it is for some of your listeners.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a surefire way to just like say this is too much and give up is to look at everything in its enormity and say, oh my gosh, like where am I, how am I even going to do this? You got to break it down to its smallest, most atomic level and then just work. It's Al Pacino in Any Given Sunday had the speech about the inch, right? Get your inch. Life is about inches. Sometimes that first inch is getting out of bed, at the time you said you're going to. It doesn't matter, roll out of bed, throw some cold water in your face and just start moving. And motion creates motion, right? It's that inertia that bodies and at rest, stay at rest, bodies in motion tend to stay in motion. You've got to get things moving. And I love your idea about blocking the calendar out, right? Because the worst thing you can do right now is have a clean sheet of paper and look at, this is my day. And you know what you will do? You will do exactly that. That's what you will get accomplished. Like one of the exercises I do, and you probably do this as well, but gratitude in the morning,
Yes.
write down 5 things I'm grateful for. 5 things I did yesterday that were positive, right? So you have a positive focus and a gratitude focus. It changes everything. I got away from that last week. Bob, it was a disaster. I was crabby. I was, focusing on all the wrong stuff. And what that does is it trains, when you do a gratitude focus and you start your day that way, it gets you thinking positive. It gets you thinking about good things and things that it gets your mind moving towards, okay, I'm really thankful for the fact that I'm alive today, because a lot of people take that for granted. That, hey, I'm here and I'm alive. Like, I know maybe less so now because of what's going on with the COVID-19, but I guarantee, and I've done it where I've just, wake up crabby and feel sorry for myself. And then I'm like, well, you know what? You just wasted a day, and you know this. I mean, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor in August of 2019. And I'll tell you the first thing I did and I was in Laguna Beach, family vacation. Yay. Like we were just supposed to be in Florida. Every family vacation I was supposed to go on my wife was in the hospital on Thanksgiving when it was a family vacation. So we're just, but I laugh about it right now. I'm like, nobody plan anything when I've got a vacation scheduled, but the morning after the diagnosis, I remember just waking up, I did a video. I'd just been to Tom Ferry's summit and, there's like, do more video. And the video I did that next morning was one of gratitude. I said, you know what? I'm alive. Like, I don't care. I don't know how long, this is going to go away. It's, what the outcomes are. I don't really care. I'm just glad I have today. And I'll, more than likely have tomorrow and many other tomorrows. But, it's really, when you think about it that way and you think, okay, I'm not guaranteed tomorrow. I'm not even, I wasn't guaranteed the full day. So make the most out of it and focus on gratitude and focus on positivity.
You're so right. And I remember that video. Scott, you and I have lost touch. We haven't, really seen each other in 15 years, something.
Well, you moved to Iowa. What do you expect?
I know, right? Who's gonna, here in the deep South, you never know.
Yeah. You and those other, rich people down there in the South.
But I saw your video. That video that you did that day was you came back onto the radar in my life, and it made an impact on me. And this is another point I wanted to make to everybody listening is right now is what I would call a leadership moment. And what I'm seeing is, frankly, this is not a political statement whatsoever. I am seeing a vacuum in leadership everywhere I look. I do not see people who would traditionally step up and take a leadership role doing that right now. So it's incumbent on us as people who are, I'm a leader, you're a leader in your world, certainly. And a lot of the people that I work with and talk to are leaders in their world. There's a vacuum in leadership and people are looking for leadership, and it's a ripple effect. That leadership that you showed to turn your webcam on right after you got diagnosed with a brain tumor positively impacted my life, and you had no idea. Think of the ripple effect that that one thing had in the world. And right now, everybody's at home. Everybody's scrolling through Facebook or scrolling through Instagram or on Snapchat or on the web or wherever. We are more connected electronically than we've ever been, yet we are still lacking that leadership. So it's an opportunity for any of us, anyone watching this, listening to this, to stand up and make an impact on the world. When people are truly listening, they're starving for leadership, and we have an opportunity to demonstrate what good leadership looks like and to help collectively all of us get through this thing and be better for it on the other side. So I want to commend you. That was awesome, the fact that you did that, and really it put you back on my radar, and and it was really, really cool. So I think we all have that opportunity right now.
Yeah, no, and I agree. There's so many people out there who have that ability too, right? To take a leadership role. They have it in them. I think a lot of people are afraid to that they're going to, I don't know, hurt feelings or what do you think it is that, like more people don't stand up? And
I don't think it's fear. I just don't think they know how. Like we don't teach people how to be leaders. We teach people how to be followers, right? You start school and you go to school when they tell you, you do what they tell you to do, you go home. And when you're at home, you do what you're supposed to do in between, and you go through life, you graduate high school, you do the same thing in college, you graduate college, you get a job, they do the same thing. You be here at this time, here's your break, here's your lunch, go home, come back tomorrow. And it's those of us that are entrepreneurs that have said, okay, the fork in the road, I can keep living my life according to someone else's design, or I can do this on my own. They didn't teach us how to do that in school. They taught us how to not do that in school. So I think the entrepreneurs of the world have some kind of natural leadership ability in that they decided. They didn't let someone else decide. They decided what was to be done. And there's so few of us out there that I think maybe that's why you're seeing that people are waiting to be told. They don't know that they can step up and do the right thing, and people will come with people. You have to have faith. If you show leadership, they will come. People will come with you. I promise. You have to be brave. You have to do it, and they will come with you.
It's not going to be one of those Jerry Maguire moments where he's taking the fish out and it's just Renee Zellweger and him going, or maybe it is. Maybe that's all you need, right?
Right. Maybe it's not even Renee Zellweger. Maybe it's just yourself. Like you have an opportunity to make a decision to start designing your own playbook instead of following someone else's. And to me, it's scary, but wow, is it exciting?
Yeah, that's interesting. You say that too, because I think back to after high school. Like I didn't even sign up for college. Like the first semester out, and I didn't know what I was supposed to do.
Right.
I was lost, and I finally I enrolled. No, I think I did enroll some classes into a technical college, and then I went to the university the second semester. But I had no idea. I was working 3 jobs. I was going to school. I wasn't doing it. I was doing terrible at all of it, right? Because I was just spread too thin. And that's a lesson, right? One of life's lessons. Don't spread yourself too thin. There's probably 50 books written about it, but it's so true that 50, 550. But you don't you're so I grew up on the dairy farm. My parents were always telling me what to do, which was chores all the time. Wham. Poor Scott. He grew up so poor. He had to do so much work. No one has it worse than poor Scott. But sorry, there's inside jokes there. But the fact of the matter is, once you get, through high school, you're you're waiting for usually it's a parent or a guidance counselor or a teacher or someone's pushing you to college, right? And they say, okay, after college, then maybe you go to graduate school. And for some people, they wake up, they're 25 years old. They've been in school for 20 of those 25 years, and they've got a career that they kind of were guided towards that they absolutely hate. They absolutely have no interest in, right? And how many people And that's not everybody, but it's, you know, it's a significant number of folks. Heck, it was me even, like by the time I got done with college, and, you know, I worked in, you know, IT, and I had a tech career, which was fine, but it just wasn't a good fit for me. But having the guts to like admit that to myself and say, hey, this isn't what you want. You spent all this time and money to get to this place and you don't like it. Then complete 180 and go into real estate, you know, and you know, and you know, real estate. What do you need to be able to do to get a real estate license? Fog a mirror. Do you have to graduate from high school? I don't think so.
I don't think you do.
You got to be 18, or
I think
even
you got to be 18 to be licensed, but you just got to, you know, whatever the state requirement is. I think in Minnesota it was 90 hours. In other states it's like 50 hours.
yeah,
You
not
gotta
not
pass
not
a couple
yeah,
tests.
not to diminish any, you know, anything about the, you know, the
No,
value
not
of the career. I'm just saying, like, I didn't need to go to college to be a real estate agent.
right.
Fogging a
So
mirror was not a requirement, Scott.
that was not a requirement. Okay.
A cold body can get there.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's great. So Bob, tell me a little bit more about what you are like, how your business works, because I'm curious. I know you're coaching, but what does that really mean? Like,
Yeah. So on the coaching front, there's three parts of what I do. The coaching is a big part of it, where agents or managers or broker owners can sign up and a couple different programs. There's 2 sessions a month or 4 sessions a month. They're all by video conference. So you know that your coach isn't like sitting on the sideline of his kid's soccer game, half paying attention to you. It looks just like this.
yeah.
This is where I do my coaching sessions, and it is 100% focused on the coaching client. What are your goals, and what do you need to reach those goals? It's super bespoke. I know there's a lot of coaching programs out there that are super like structured. We have session 1, we talk about this, and then session 2, we talk about that. And I know you really only care about the stuff that's slated for session 15, but you got to sit through sessions 1 through 14 first to get there. That's not what I do. What I do is very, very bespoke according to whatever it is that you need. You might decide I need more help on systems and structure. So we'll spend most of our time working on systems and structure for you and your business. Or maybe you decide I just need more leads. So we'll go out and we'll focus on lead generation. Or maybe you're trying to start a team and figure it all out. I'll share with you all the things that I see agents, the mistakes that almost all agents trying to build a real estate team make, so you don't have to make them. And then we'll focus on building out your team the right way. That's on the agent side. And again, depending on how much of my time you need, it's twice a month or 4 times a month via video conference.
Okay. And you work with people throughout the country, I would imagine.
Yep, all over the place, and Canada too. So we've got quite a few clients in the Toronto area, and some even in some of the prairie states. So what I've learned is that real estate is local. Certainly, market conditions are local, and there's certain ways that transactions happen from a mechanical sense in a very local way. But the overall behaviors of running a successful real estate practice are pretty universal. And the other thing I find with my coaching is there's some new strategies and tips, and I can teach you some things, but really it comes down to execution. The real estate industry has no shortage of ideas. Everybody you talk to has got a million great ideas that's going to totally change the game. It's a tiny percentage of them that can do what I was talking about before, to take that thing from their head and turn it into something real through execution. So a lot of what I do is around execution and accountability. You say, Scott, you want to do X, Y, and Z by this date, and spend this amount of money. Okay, let's make your plan. And then next week when we jump on the call together, I'm going to ask you, you said you were going to do these 15 things since the last time I talked to you. Tell me about number 1.
Right.
Okay? You didn't do that. Is that goal still important to you? Well, yeah. Okay. So you don't want to abandon that goal that you set last time. No, I want to do it. And then the next time I jump on the call, it goes the same way. So a lot of it is accountability. We all need accountability. I have a coach. He keeps me accountable for the stuff I said that I was going to do, and he helps me reach my own goals. So that's really what it's about on the coaching side.
So then it's what is like hour call, 30 minutes? Does it depend on the?
Yeah, it depends. They typically run 30 to 45 minutes. As you can see, I'm a talker, so it's rare that I go less than 45.
Right. And are you with an organization with that? Or you're like, what organization are you with? Maybe is the question.
Leaders Edge Training. So
Okay.
leadersedgetraining.com. You can find more information on the site. I don't want to do too much of a commercial here, but if you feel like you need a coach, this is, when I left my job running the real estate company down here in Des Moines, I did a pretty broad survey of the market of what's out there. I knew I wanted to do this, and I decided, can I go on my own? Well, I probably could. Should I join a coaching organization? I thought it was better to join an organization rather than start it from scratch, just for the speed of getting up and running. And I looked at everything that was out there. And the reason I joined Leaders Edge is because of that bespoke kind of way the company is run. It is all about the needs of the client on that day and that time, and not forcing a square peg through a round hole.
So we kind of touched on this a bit. You talked about, how agents have to, really right now, show leadership, make sure that they're, social, like being social, being available, right? And trust me, I'm a little over social maybe right now, but what are you seeing? Like, what are the biggest challenges people that you're seeing, like throughout the country, Canada, whatever, North America, I guess, for that,
The biggest challenges are really staying disciplined. It is so easy to get off track right now. And my yard looks really crappy. I'm going to go do some yard work instead of making my calls. Or my kids are going nuts. Let me go yell at them. And so staying disciplined is really the most important part of this. So right now I'm working mainly on discipline and mindset, keeping get people with the right attitude, and making sure they're doing the things they need to do to keep moving the ball forward. It's so easy to get complacent right now and fall behind. And here's the thing, here's what I'm telling everybody. And this comes from my experience going through the last recession. This is totally different. This is not like the last recession at all. It happened instantly. It wasn't this slow grind down. But what I learned in the last recession is the people that worked, the people that hustled, the people that kept doing the business and innovated, they were creative, they stayed disciplined, were the people that shaped the way our business works today. So every time we go through a recession, every 10 years or so in real estate, look back 100 years, it goes like clockwork. About every 10 years, we go through a recession. The people that worked and were successful through the recession make the rules for how the next upcycle of the market works. So if you sit back and wait until the light turns green again in your business, you're going to be so far behind the people who kept working and figuring it out and being creative through this whole thing. For example, look at social media. So social media was brand new. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram didn't exist yet. YouTube was still pretty fresh and new in 2007, 2008. And I was teaching that stuff back in 2007, 2008. And people were like, that technology stuff is for kids. It's there, but it's not important. I'm going to keep doing things the way that I've always done it. Then fast forward to 2012, 2013, we started to come out of the recession, and the agents that were focused on those new things and those creative ways of connecting with people were just crushing it from their lead generation. They were spending less money. They were connecting with better clients that were more in tune with their message. They weren't in traditional print media. Their mailing budgets went way down, and they really ate the lunch of everybody who kind of coasted through the recession. Same thing's happening right now all around you. Don't let it happen to you. Innovate, be creative, be open, try stuff. There's no better environment than right now. There are almost no consequences to experimenting and getting something wrong right now.
right?
So try something new. Why not?
Yeah, fail fast, fail forward, fail frequently, try, keep trying until you everyone wants to believe they've got the secret sauce, but the secret sauce, the thing with the secret sauce is it changes over time.
Right.
Like what worked 5 years ago doesn't work today. Good service, staying in contact with people. These things have worked throughout history. Like if you go read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, or Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, books that were written about 100 years ago. These guys came over with the Mayflower, and they wrote these sales books, and the lessons. And the reason I know is I'm reading them right now.
Mhm.
And it's like the fifth time through. And these lessons and these techniques and this systematic approach that these guys have, it transcends generations. It transcends industries. It transcends, you know, whatever market you're in. And, you know, I think for a lot of people, there's this type of environment gives you every excuse in the world to quit.
Right.
You know what? I get it. You're tired. I get it. Yeah. You don't want to, you don't want to like do anything right now because, things are really bad. Yep. I get it. You can self-talk yourself into pretty much any behavior you want right now and justify it. And I'm not telling, I don't want to sound like I don't have empathy. I really do. But you have to rise in spite of that. Right. In spite of the fact that, things are, when you turn the TV on and you turn the computer on and you go to, whatever news channel you want to look at and whatever news feed, it's, there's a lot of negativity out there, and it's really easy to get sucked into that and get wrapped into that. And then you find yourself hitting refresh every 15 seconds to see how many people have been infected. Right. It's just like,
Right.
and I'm not saying it's not a big deal. It's just that, we're going to get through this, right? I don't know when, that's the problem, right? We don't know when, we don't know how, we don't know what, where we're going to be, but like people, we are going to get through this. And, I think, we better be ready to rock and roll on the other side and be ready to rebuild, this economy. Like, I'm excited for that. Like, I don't like social distancing. I like being around people. I hate this right now. I hate it. Hate it. I want to be around people. I want to hang out. Like it's my favorite thing to do is be around folks. And right now I just, well, let me ask you this. This is a segue. I'm pontificating, but what are you seeing the impact on showing? So are people adapting, or what are the more creative things people are doing to show properties? Because there's still business being transacted.
Right. So just this morning, I actually attended a virtual showing where a listing agent had her seller walk through the house with her cell phone camera on. No one was in the house except the seller, and the agent kind of narrated her way through the seller's walk through the house. So that was a virtual open house. What I'm hearing is people are actually doing that in a private one-on-one way. And this comes down to being creative. So we get the buyer's agent and the listing agent get together on a phone call and set up the showing. And then the listing agent talks to their seller, buyer agent talks to their buyer, and we set the ground rules, right? So the listing agent tells the seller, here's what we're going to do, and here's what we're going to say, and here's what we're not going to do, and what we're not going to say. We still need to stage the house. We still need to have the soft music, travel channel on mute, open the blind, stage, all that same stuff
Right.
that you would do to stage the property in real life type thing. And they get the seller to stage it there. Then the buyer's agent goes to their buyer and says, okay, we're all going to be on a video call together. You, me, the listing agent, the seller. I want you to treat this just like you would treat it if we were showing a house where the seller was still present, where they didn't leave. So you're not going to give away. You're not going to tip your cards. You're not going to really comment on anything. You're not even really going to strike up a conversation with the seller. We're there to see the house. Then you and I will have a private discussion after this is over. Listing agent and seller do the same thing when it's over. Buyer likes it. Buyer writes an offer with .loop or DocuSign or whatever your system of choice is. And buyers are writing offers and going under contract to purchase listings sight unseen without seeing the house. Scott, that's how my wife bought this house. So I came to Des Moines about 2-3 months to work. Before my wife came, she was still in New Jersey. I went out and I looked at 13, 14, 15 houses. When I got into this house, I turned on my webcam and my wife watched in New Jersey and she said, yep, let's do it. Let's make an offer. So this is nothing new. This is old stuff that we've been doing a while now. But what I think is happening is the agents that could afford to ignore it can't afford to ignore it. And they've come to the table and they're trying to figure it out.
Right. I think that's, there's a quote, rotten fruit falls first, meaning that, if there's, I want to be careful how I say this, but if there's practices that are inefficient, are, antiquated, that don't make sense. Those things are going to fall off right now. Like we're going to see like people are going to be forced to adapt to the new normal, right? Like people say, oh, I hope things get back to normal. Well, they're not. They're going to be back to a normal, but it's going to be a different normal. People who are unwilling to maybe even consider doing a virtual tour of homes, right? And do that on behalf of their buyers. They got to get with the program right now, because that's how, in fact, this could be more mainstream, after this. I mean, I believe it will be. Like,
I agree. I think the way real estate is done is going to fundamentally change when this whole thing is behind us. Because what we're doing right now is discovering there are some better ways, rather than going out and schlepping your buyer around in the back of your car, or having them follow you in their car and showing 15 houses like I looked at before I bought this one. The buyer's going to whittle down to their top 3 or top 2, and we're going to go see those in person. And maybe the first time we see them won't even be in person. It'll be via a video call. So this will force, I've been preaching efficiency with working with buyers for the sake of the buyer long before this whole thing was over. Nobody wants to drive around and look at 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 houses. They want to find the house. So this is nothing new. This need has always been there, but now the agents are being forced to become efficient in the way they deliver that service and meeting the buyer's needs. I think that'll stick around. I think electronic contracts are here to stay. They're not going to go away. I think video conferences like this are going to be a huge part of the way business is done in the future. I think outside of the real estate world, I think a lot more companies are going to be able to shrink their corporate footprint, their bricks and mortar expenses, and have more work from home arrangements, either part-time or full-time working from home. And I think you're going to see entertainers continue to do the live streams that they've been doing after this is over. I think the world is going to look different when this is done. I don't think this is a stick your head in the sand and wait situation. I think this is a wave, and we can ride on the front of it or we can chase it, but it's going to hit whether you want it to or not.
Yeah, I agree. I everything's going to get changed because of this, right? Public education. Like you look at practically every school in Minnesota, if not every school, is figuring out how to deliver content online right now for kids to be schooled at home. Sorry, kids, no more sick days, because they can find you at home with those iPads now. But really, like there's going to be a transformation there. We're not just going to snap back to the way things were with the education. There's something called remote online notary closings. I don't know if you guys are aware of them.
Yes, absolutely. That's going to be a thing so only a handful of banks were doing that a month ago. After this is over, I think you're going to see every major bank accepting electronic notarized signatures.
I agree. I think it's just, it would be foolish not to. I mean, it was foolish that they didn't before, other than they just didn't want to do it, right? They didn't like, well, people go to closings, they drive to the closing, and there's the closing can be fun, but there's as someone who personally transacts a lot of business, for me, I don't need to go to a closing. I would just soon, if you could send me the documents the morning of or the night before, and I can just, put my mark on them all, that's fine with me. Particularly if it's like an investment property. I get there's still some, the charm of going to a closing and being there in the room and stuff. But yeah, that's one huge change that I think is long overdue. The virtual showings, that's also awesome. Anything else?
What about Matterport? I'm seeing more Matterport, but I'm also seeing some pushback from Matterport. So Matterport, for those that don't know, is a 3D rendering of a property. You bring a special camera into a house, and you set down the device in the room. It scans the room, and it puts together a 3D walkthrough. Some of my clients have really embraced that. It used to be kind of like it's expensive, so they only did it on higher end listings. Now we're putting them on sub $200,000 listings have Matterports. Now, in some cases, and other agents I've seen just totally push back against it and not like it. Where do you stand on Matterport?
I like it. Do I, we do them a lot. In fact, I think my brother's uploading one right now to a Facebook ad, but we also do aerial, which for me is kind of like one of the things I like. I don't know if sellers, there you go, Jeremy, do, if sellers appreciate the aerial photos. I like them. So like, I like to put them on all of our listings. But the thing with Matterport, you do that walk that, if you're looking for fast, whipping through the pictures, you can whip through 15, 20 pictures a lot quicker than Matterport. If you're looking to really feel it and feel like what it's like, I think if you're more serious about the property, if you found that you like, this is something I really do like, if say you're looking at 20 and you get it down to 3, I think that's where the real benefit to the Matterport comes, because then you can really, you capture that essence of the home a little bit better. Right.
Right.
But
it's harder to fudge a little bit. A good realtor can put the photos together in a way that makes an 800 square foot condo appear like a 2,500 square foot penthouse, right? So the Matterport.
So you have seen some of my listings.
It's called agency. We have to. We legally are required to represent our client's best interest. And that's
right. You're dangling from a harness up in the
right.
The upper the northeast corner, so you can make this. You can actually get the full room, and you can actually get far enough back to get the room. And
right. No, you got to go low, not high. The low angle,
right.
really.
Right.
I mean, you take 8-foot ceilings, you make them seem like 12-footers. So
right.
You take that low picture.
Oh my gosh, there's a tiger in there. No, that's a cat, guys.
Oh my gosh, I just started watching. Are you watching
Yes.
Tiger Kings?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Yeah. I can't help but feel a little dirty every time I watch an episode.
Oh my gosh, I have to take a shower every time, but I can't stop watching.
I know it's wrong, but it's such a phenomenon right now. I feel like, I would be left out of like some joke, right? That everyone else knew, and I was the one who didn't get the punchline if I didn't watch it. Yeah, I'm on I think episode 4. Who's the woman?
Okay, stop right there. I'm only on 3.
Oh, okay. Well, the woman. They say her name right away. She's
the woman who's got the sanctuary.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, I won't spoil it for anybody. So it is good. It's gratuitous. Yeah, we'll just say it's gratuitous. It's just
it's good. Best to leave it at that.
Yeah. Anyway, so
but yeah, as far as transacting, I think the virtual tours and the Matterport stuff is important. Good photography has never been more important. Certainly, professional videography. And what I'm not talking about, sometimes, Scott, how you see the agents who take like a picture slideshow and they turn it into a video.
Yeah,
that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about an actual video camera where the ceiling fan spins and the fire's in the fireplace and the the fountains are you can see them.
Yeah, they're animated. It's not somebody with like the oh my gosh, the slideshow with the really bad music on the background.
Oh my gosh, right.
Oh, like, come on, guys. Like, what are you doing? Like, some of these people, I'm like, that, like, if I liked this house, this music would make me not like it. You know?
I remember, did you, so it was like 2002 or 2001. I'm trying to remember the product. I jumped on some product like that where you could take, my memory card held like 6 photos on my digital camera. And then you could upload those 6 photos into this program and it would stitch them into this tour and it would have the cheesy MIDI music playing. Like back in 2002, that was innovative.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You were bleeding edge back then, but yeah, now it's like
2020. It's 18 years later. That should that should not be what we're doing.
Yeah, that's funny. We've really dated ourselves. Wow.
Remember Talking House? Did you ever do Talking House?
Yes.
The radio broadcast thing from the basement?
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. We are going down memory lane now.
Yeah.
What do you think is, I have a couple questions before I know we're getting to the end, but like biggest opportunity this year, do you see like for folks?
The biggest opportunity is to connect with people you never would have had the time to connect with in the past. Reach down to those B, C, D level prospects, however you do it, and just make it a point to every day have the discipline to have as many personal interactions as you can. I'm not talking about form letters. I'm not talking about mass emails or mass texts. I'm talking about like a one-to-one conversation, not even about real estate, just a social call. Like, hey, how you doing? How are the kids? Or last time I talked to you, you were going down to Mexico. How was the trip? Like, just make social connections and have the discipline to do it. Right now, it's easier than it's ever been in your career. I promise you, you will uncover real estate opportunities. People will say, I can't believe you're calling, Bob. We haven't talked in 10 years. It's been crazy. My sister needs to buy a house. I'm so glad you called. I never would have thought to call you, but can you call my sister?
Right.
You're going to uncover opportunities like that all over the place that you were missing before because you were trying to be too efficient by sending mass texts or mass emails or relying just on your social media. The one-to-one opportunities to make a connection, I think, is really what the opportunity is going to look like in 2020.
Awesome. That's great advice. I read something, and of course something from sources, but they said that my sources tell me that
People are saying
but oh man, I wish I wrote it down, but they said that the number of phone calls like on any given evening right now is like double what Mother's Day, which is normally the highest call volume
Awesome.
day of the year. So people are talking, people are taking the time, thankfully. And I know personally, like, heck, you and I reconnected. I don't know that we'd be doing this had it not been for COVID-19. So I'm thankful, I have gratitude for that, because hey, it doesn't, in something that's negative, there can be positive. You got to look for the positive things that come out of it. And before we end, I need to know, do you have, or are you planning have you planned a April Fool's prank on a loved one or someone you don't love?
No, I've never been one for the April Fool's thing. I am wary. My antenna's up. I've seen some Facebook posts this morning. Like, I don't know if you remember Todd Urbanski.
Oh yeah.
So Todd posted something this morning about, you've heard of like avalanche rescue dogs for skiers.
Yes.
So the next thing is there's avalanche rescue mountain goats. There's trained mountain goats that will go out and rescue stranded skiers now. So my antenna was, I'm like, I saw that he posted. I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. How do they train? Oh, it's April 1st. So I blew up Todd's spot on this one, but my antenna is up a little bit higher than it normally would be, but I'm not a prank guy. What about you?
I am a prank guy. My wife and our kids they visited her sister last night. Don't tell anybody, and don't tell what's his face? Who's the mayor of Minneapolis? Dang it, Jacob Frey. Don't tell Jacob Frey, but they visited in Minneapolis yesterday. Then the kids, they always want to stay overnight. So they stayed overnight. Usually in the mornings on April 1st, I will get a good joke but they weren't home. So I'm trying to think of something that will be tasteful, tasteful and not, actually irritate my wife when I get home. So we'll see. I usually come up with something pretty good, but
my wife got it wasn't an April Fool's joke. It was, we're trying to do some kind of homeschool thing. We're trying our best, but we're not into it. So for science class, we've got a green belt behind our house. So there's a walking trail and there's a creek on the other side of it. So she took the kids for science class down to the creek and they found some clay. And they came walking up the backyard with like buckets of this creek clay, and they brought it into my kitchen and we're trying to like mold things out of this creek clay. Scott, I'm still scraping clay bits off of my cabinets. And I asked my wife, I'm like, so what was the lesson here? And the lesson was watch Daddy clean up the kitchen. That was her April Fool's joke on
patience.
Yeah.
Well, you're a patient guy, though. I don't know that I would have had the same reaction.
That's all a farce. I am not at all. That's the character I play.
That's the
TV.
facade.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, well, awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Bob. This is awesome getting caught up. So people like listening, they want to get in touch with you. Mm-hmm. If they're interested in coaching or whatever, what's the best way?
The easiest way is to my website where I host a podcast like this. We publish every Monday. It's called How They Won, HOWTHEYWON, howtheywon.com. And there you can subscribe, listen into the podcast. You can also connect with me on social. I think you tagged me in this. So if they want to connect with me on Facebook, I'd love to reconnect with old friends. I know we have overlapping spheres, but your relationships are a lot fresher than mine and a lot of new ones too. So I just would love to connect. I have nothing to close you on, nothing to sell you on until this whole thing is over. So from just a relationship perspective, I'd love to meet some new people as a result of this interview.
Awesome. That's awesome. So, all right. Well, I really appreciate it. It's been awesome. It's highlighted my week. What did it say? Wednesday. I'm going to ride this all the way through to Friday. So no, I really, really, really has been great catching up. So I will be in touch with you, I promise, because I want to talk about some coaching with either,
That would be great.
maybe even for me. So
Okay.
those
I'd love to help if I can.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, Bob. Well, you have a great day. I will let my friend Dustin, who's in Altoona, know that there is another you're native of Minnesota, right?
I'm a Minnesota native.
Yeah,
You can hear it in my voice. Sven
Yeah.
and Obi are in there still.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Thanks, Scott, for everything.
All right. Bye-bye.